Hello everyone and welcome back to Different Beat. I'm Elizabeth.
And I'm Tim.
And this week we'll be covering the latest fighting game for our channel, which is BlazBlue Chrono Phantasm Extend.
Chrono Phantasma. BlazBlue or BlazBlue. I don't know. Either way. According to Beth, it seems to go back and forth.
I do remember after the first game, because a lot of people like myself like to call it BlazBlue. And
it sounds way better than
it does.
BlazBlue. Yeah.
But I encountered a lot of people online who said it's actually pronounced Blaz is the more accurate pronunciation of the name. And then the actual dialogue within Chrono Phantasma says BlazBlue.
Yes,
I mean, so I don't know which it's supposed to be.
The debate has been settled once and for all. BlazBlue.
Well, maybe if you consider Titus's name to be.
Oh God! Why? Why does these things have to come full circle?
I'm sorry. Anyways, so this is a game, not this one specifically, but this is a franchise I've mentioned multiple times on our channel, actually, especially during fighting game talks like Mortal Kombat, because this was my favorite new fighting franchise introduced during the PS3 and 360 era. And I've really loved it. I actually prefer it to Arc System's other fighting games. Like I prefer it to Guilty Gear and Persona Arena. Since not the original, because she wasn't in the original, but I really got into it with...
Tsubaki is your character.
Yeah, Tsubaki Yayoi, but she wasn't in Chrono Trigger. She was in Continuum Shift. And so I played a lot of Chrono Trigger, but it was with Tsubaki and Continuum Shift I really got into a franchise. And I've kind of stuck with it ever since.
Yeah, you've been pretty much a Blaze fan.
I have. So being able to cover it for a different beat, it has been a real enjoyment for me. It's something that I can really put out there because I do think it's really amazing. There are so many different characters and it has such a diverse cast. And it has this really frenetic pace and just great look to it in the middle of combat. And sadly, I'm not nearly pro level, but it's an amazing game to watch and play.
I will agree with that. Probably my favorite thing about BlazBlue, and I'm not nearly as big of a fan of BlazBlue as Beth is. I mean, it's probably my number 2 when it comes to fighting games. And I know that sounds like I think it's amazing, but I don't play a lot of fighting games.
True.
It's like Street Fighter is my primary one, and that's only because I have a ton of friends that play it, and I seem to enjoy it. I gel pretty well with it. And out of all the, and it used to be Tekken was my number 2.
Yeah, that's true.
But I've actually found that ever since Beth introduced me to BlazBlue that it's actually sort of taken that second spot. I just seem to gel with it really well, which it's hard for me, not being a proficient fighting game player, to really gel with a fighting game, because it's like they're not designed for me. They're designed for people who enjoy fighting games, you know?
No, I get it. And I'm really terrible too.
Yeah, and so it's hard to find a fighting game for people who aren't good at fighting games, but BlazBlue is still a lot of fun to play. So there's a lot of characters in the game, like Beth is saying, but I think one of the things that I really like about BlazBlue compared to other fighters is even though you have a pretty big ensemble of characters, they're all pretty unique even in their look. And I feel like a lot of fighting games, even the one I mentioned before, Street Fighter, has a lot of similar characters. Like, you know, in Street Fighter 4, there was just never-ending Shotos. There was tons of them. Half the characters were Shotos, it seemed. That might be an exaggeration. It probably is. But it was way too many of them. Whereas in Blaze, it feels like they did a really good job of giving you this pretty big cast of characters that really feels like there's something in there for everybody. I never played 2 that I thought, well, this one's really like the other. They all look really unique. It's like, I don't ever see confusing 2 by their just physical descriptions. Right out the gate, I like the fact that they let you have different alternate... I mean, granted, it's just colors, not alternate costumes. But, you know, a lot of fighting games these days make you unlock that stuff that you're playing. But Blaze is like, no, here's like 10 different alternates for this character, which I appreciated. And so part of the fun of playing a game like that to me is right there, it's worth it, because when you get into it and you see that there are all these different characters, even if you never become a super big fan of this game, you'll still get quality time out of it by experimenting with that diverse cast and finding who works for you. And as somebody who's not a long-time Blaze fan, that was probably the best experience about it for me, is I got to play several different characters. And probably the one I gelled with the most, I think she might be new to this one, and that was the Bullet character.
Yeah, Bullet, I believe, came in with the original release of Chrono Phantasma, and she was not one of the characters introduced in DLC for Continuum Shift. So yes, I do think that is the case. See, my new favorite character is actually Izayoi, and of course, I mean, she's really just an upgraded form of Tsubaki in a lot of ways. I mean, just storyline-wise. I mean, if you play it, you'll understand. The thing is, I'm actually pretty terrible with Izayoi. It just, for me, it's really fun because I love her design, just like I love Tsubaki's before hers. And all her, like, moves and skills seem to be based off Gundam attacks. So if you read their names and and the fact that she transmissions like Gundam 00. So as a Gundam girl, that makes me happy, too, to have that there. I really like Kokinoe. Now that she's finally playable, I honestly couldn't tell what I was doing half the time at first because, like, she seems to have so many rapid-fire skills, like toys that run into one another. So our first match, I never played Kokinoe before, and I was busting out specials that linked into specials, that linked into another special, that linked into a super, and I was like, I hit like 4 buttons, what the hell? And it was a lot of fun. She seems really interesting, and I spent more time with her. And overall, it's like the cast, each time the games come out, I found a character I loved. Like when it was Chrono Trigger, I loved Lai Shi Fei Ling, and I loved Rachel Alucard. And then with Continuum Shift, I think it was Continuum Shift. I might be wrong with that. But the second one, I loved Tsubaki. And then now I have, Izayoi here and Kokinoe. So, which is surprising because generally in fighting games, I'll find that one character, and even when the sequels of the sequels of the sequels come out, I'm still using that original character. In Street Fighter, that's Guile. Yeah. Even though Street Fighter 5 probably won't have him. But, I mean, I love to play Guile. Plus, I love to play Gouken, which it probably also won't have either, you bastards, Capcom. And Mortal Kombat was the same. It's like I've always played Sub-Zero.
Sub's your boy.
And so it's like I love to use those characters. But in Blaze, I've had fun being able to find a new character with each one and really grow and get better with them. And it's something that I think is really accessible, but there's a lot of depth there. So, I mean, obviously, I'm a huge fangirl of this franchise. So I'm kind of biased, but I'm really happy with the new release, and I really hope that, Arc System Work really takes this franchise forward in the coming years, too.
So, going on more about the franchise itself, I want to talk about a little bit what I consider to be a devolvement in the franchise, and that's particularly with what I thought. And I mean, the experience of playing this game is still really fun. The downside to playing this game is the story mode. I really think the story mode was very downgraded in this one. It's a lot harder to pay attention to. It's the less, animated cut sequences, of interaction, and more just stills and text that's voiced over. And while that works to convey a story, and games have been doing that forever, there's just too much of it in between matches, and that was the hardest part for me, was trying to play through the story mode of Chrono Phantasma.
Well, go ahead.
I was just gonna say it was so disengaging, at least for me. I mean, maybe there's diehard fans out there who are just like locked into this lore, who are like, yes, give me more of this. But for me, as somebody who just wanted to experience the fun fighting game that was in here, I had to stop. I couldn't even finish it. I was just like, this is not enjoyable.
See, for me, Chrono Trigger had a lot of that. Still stills of characters, like faces, and then a lot of text and dialogue. And there was like kind of like adventure style plot choices, or visual style plot choices. So that's always been in the franchise, and it really doesn't bother me. However, now the story is becoming so complicated and so convoluted, and with so many new characters that it's got to cover them all, I'm not enjoying it as much, because to be completely honest, I've never enjoyed the core story of BlazBlue. It just doesn't do anything for me. What I always enjoyed, as far as the story goes, was the outtakes, and how it would make jokes of itself and have omakes. Like, instead of Jin being a psychopath in the early games, he's actually just a really demented person who is in love with his brother romantically and wants him sexually. I thought it was hilarious. And they made fun of that because, that was probably, like, even when Tsubaki is finally introduced, because right before the game came out, a lot of us watching her were thinking, it's like, is she going to be the Holy Order soul of BlazBlue because she looked like it. And in the game, they actually make a joke about her being a part of the Holy Order and her being like, no, don't pigeonhole me like that. So it's always been those little moments, those little things, nods to the players that they know that this is, you know, probably way too pretentious and serious for its own good. And I didn't get to that this time. I mean, I still plan to finish all of the story, but to me, maybe I just kind of have worn out about it, and I don't have the patience to get to it like I used to, but I didn't get that sense of humor and that sense of, you know, tongue-in-cheek, we're going to make fun of ourselves as quickly as I did last time. And that's kind of disappointing to me.
Yeah, so again, I think the game shines the most when you actually play the game. When you play BlazBlue as a fighting game, I think it really excels. I mean, it's paced really well. Like I said, engaging characters. I really like the art style. I really have always appreciated the hand-drawn sprites style fighting games. You know what I'm saying? I just really love that. I think it's very classy. It looks beautiful, especially nowadays on high-def TVs and everything.
Well, technically,
they're really gorgeous games.
That game isn't hand-drawn.
Really?
It's actually 3D models. They used a really unique system, and I believe they carried that forward with at least Persona Arena. I don't know if they did full hand-drawn with Guilty Gear. I don't believe so, because Guilty Gear was made with Unreal 3. But they're not fully hand-drawn sprites completely.
Okay, well, the style.
But anyway. I agree.
I love that
does
style
look beautiful.
of gameplay.
It's easily... I know some people think it's too anime, but for me,
I think it's visually engaging and awesome.
Yeah,
I really enjoy it.
I agree. It's like, for me, that was easily the best looking fighting game last gen, and it's so far as this gen to me too, because I just love the look of BlazBlue.
Yeah, the bright lights, the flashy colors.
The backgrounds are amazing. They got so much detail and so much going on. And the music is phenomenal. I love
BlazBlue's music is pretty good. Way better than like Mortal Kombat's music, that's for sure. I know that's two very different fighting games, but still.
But
that was the last one we really played, so it's fresh in my memory.
Yes, that's true. I think, though, I've kind of said all I have to say. Do you have anything that you want to say in closing?
Yeah, I mean, so even if you go in and you don't really like the story, I found that you can get the best of both worlds with a little bit of character storyline and back-to-back fights. If you go through the arcade mode, that's where I pretty much got introduced to a lot of characters. I just started going through the arcade mode instead and playing. That was where I really thought the game shined. I loved the battles that Beth and I did. A lot of fun there too. Blaze, again, if you haven't tried out, it's a really fun game to play with people or even on your own, especially if you like that art style. You like fighting games that feel fast-paced, but the learning curve isn't super high. I mean, I'm sure at pro level it is, but you can get by in BlazBlue being an amateur player. And you can have fun in BlazBlue being an amateur player. And I think that's really the key differentiator.
I agree.
Is there's a lot of fighting games out there that are made for people to get good at instead of fighting games that are made for the average Joe to get good at. You know what I'm saying? So overall, I think BlazBlue is a lot of fun. You should check it out. If I had to throw a rating at BlazBlue, I'm going to go ahead and give this guy a 3.5 stars. It's pretty good.
I'll probably go with the same, even though I do seem to be a bit bigger fan of it than you. Just like there are a little disappointments here and there for me on this particular release, so it's not as, you know, mind-shattering at the very first sequel, or even Chrono Trigger was.
I think with a better campaign, it could have gone up to 4, but again, it's like, and fighting games are weird because the scale for fighting games is totally different. There's a completely different expectation out of the box on another game. But just adding that little bit of extra would have taken it further for me. But overall, it's still a great game. I'm not going to dump on it.
I definitely recommend people give it a shot. Really try to, you know, see it. I mean, I can understand if it's not for you, but give it a shot. Try out a few different characters. They have a lot of unique ones in there. And I think it can win over a lot of people, even if it is quote-unquote anime.
Absolutely. All right, well, that's pretty much, I think, all we have to say about Blaze. If you like this video, please give it a thumbs up. Subscribe to our channel as we upload content each and every Sunday. Our next review is going to be of Batman Arkham Knight. I, for some reason, want to call Arkham Asylum every time. I don't know why. But yeah, we'll be uploading that one next time. So thank you for tuning in. This was Different Beat. I'm Tim.
And I'm Elizabeth.
Have a great night.